Hello everyone, this is Fantasy-esque and welcome to Season 2 of Vampyre Clan in ClanGen. In the last episode, Ibis Freckle and Nest were haunted by nightmares, causing panic within their family as the vampires struggled to make sense of their dreams. And Grandmaster Bluestar kept an eye out during patrols for a worthy mentor of her grandson. We are now picking up on the first turn of Greenleaf, and it is Moon 75, so let's dive in and take a look at what happens next. Okay, let's take a look at the events. So Grandmaster Bluestar brings herself to the medicine cat den, concerned her running nose only seems to be getting worse. And then for the exciting bit, Eaglepaw has reached the age of 6 moons and has been made a fledgling. So let's jump to the cat list and take a look at him. He is so cute and such a pretty cat as well. He's got like a gradient sort of pattern with the beige and the like sandy color. It looks very nice. But he was fearless as a kitten and now he is daring. He has kept his oddly insightful self, which is nice, and his mentor is his father, Nest. Now Nest, he is a childish cat. He's also a skilled mediator. I wonder if Bluestar made these two a pair because she felt that in any dynamic Eaglepaw ends up in, he is going to take the lead a little bit, and maybe she wanted to use this opportunity to help Nest grow up a bit or mature a bit, and this experience will be a learning one for not just the fledgling, but for the mentor as well. So that's kind of nice, but also Eaglepaw is insightful, Nest is a skilled mediator, so maybe he'll be able to teach Eaglepaw how to make use of his insight in certain matters and actually have something come out of that. So that's kind of nice. He's got like intuition, but he's gonna help Eaglepaw turn it into a skill. I do like that quite a bit. A little bit unexpected because I thought for sure Bluestar would get Quiet Flight to be the mentor for Eaglepaw, but no, she put a lot of faith in his father, which is kind of cute. Let's go over to the medicine cat den, check up on Bluestar a little bit more. She has white cough? Oh no, that's dangerous. Grandmaster Bluestar was given Juniper as treatment for running nose. Twilight Fade was given Daisy as treatment for joint pain, and then Feather gathered plantain and goldenrod this moon. That is not good that she has white cough. That is very dangerous. Let's dive into relationships to see what's happening on this front. Grandmaster Bluestar covered for Feather on something minor. I'm wondering if Feather maybe downplayed Bluestar's sniffles and his sickness, and it resulted in white cough, but she didn't really blame Feather for that. Bloomrise does something endearing, which surprises Grandmaster Bluestar. That's kind of nice. I mean, she, a few episodes back, was doing really well in hunting, so maybe she helped to bring Bluestar some food, which Bluestar appreciated. Burnleaf is impressed by Ibis Freckle helping others today. I kind of love the fact that whenever Burnleaf looks at Ibis Freckle, she is the model example of what a vampire should be in the clan. Has strong morals, is helpful, and it's like the only thing he ever sees is the facade she puts up, and he never sees the dark side of her. So whenever his mates Twilight Fade and, Twilight Fade's daughter Bloomrise says anything about Ibis Freckle to Burnleaf, it's completely just out of nowhere because what they're saying doesn't sound like the way Ibis Freckle is or what he sees all the time. Again, Burnleaf is baffled by something Bloomrise says about religion. See guys, I think this conversation, again, might have to do with how they feel as vampires, what happens to the kittens they hunt, what happens to the queens they hunt, and the fact that those kittens and queens actually end up in the dark forest? Hold on a second. If we go to the dead, so obviously we have our vampires in Star Clan, and then in the dark forest we have, unfortunately, all of the kittens and queens that were fed on and killed by the vampires. We've only ever had one incident of that, but this thing that happens is such a, I think, traumatizing event for the victims that their souls are unable to find their way to StarClan. They're kind of lost in this dark forest. It's really sad, but also think the vampires in a way taint their souls and trap them in this very dark and depressing place. And some vampires have a problem with that when they think about the afterlife. Other vampires don't, because they're not the ones suffering from it. I suppose Bloomrise is one of the cats that maybe has a problem with that, and Burnleaf doesn't really. Twilight Fade and Eagle Kit debate about something interesting. They end up agreeing. Eagle Kit tells a clanmate that Twilight Fade did a great job today, which is very nice. Master Quiet Flight considers Ibis Freckle to be one of her close friends. I mean, that is her daughter, so it does make sense. Quiet Flight asks Fornest about something complicated and is amazed at how quickly Fornest understands. Oh, that's adorable. I like that Quiet Flight has a good relationship with her children. Alfeather doubts whether Ibis Freckle even likes her at all. Yikes. Yikes. So she thinks her sister-in-law doesn't like her. Alfeather and Eagle Kit chat about clan news, some mother-son bonding. Sunnytail acknowledges Burnley for the twitch of his whiskers. A clanmate accuses Sunnytail of copying one of Eagle Kit's jokes. Ibis Freckle can't remember a word for the life of her, but Bloomrise helps her remember it. I wonder if Bloomrise, at a certain point, she's compassionate, might start noticing that her being overly wary of Ibis Freckle is creating a bit of a divide between her and Burnleaf, and maybe she's going to try and tone it down a little bit so that it doesn't become a big problem in the future. Ibis Freckle does something that makes Fornest's day a little happier, which I think he would appreciate, because an episode back he was getting terrified of his sister because of the dreams he was having about her. Bloomrise heard a story about something kind Master Quiet Flight did. Eaglepaw and Fornest noticed a cloud is shaped like a mouse. Okay, that's cute. So this interaction happened after Eagle Kit became a fledgling. He became Eaglepaw. And that is all we have for the events for today. Let's go ahead and see what everyone's doing for the day. Before we get into all of this though, really quickly, I want to point out some things that I noticed in terms of relationships. The first was with Grandmaster Quiet Flight. She actually has a hatred for Bloomrise now, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that after the death of her oldest child, Pinespeck, she has become overly emotional and protective when it comes to her remaining children, Fornest and Ibis Freckle. So she doesn't tolerate anyone treating her children coldly or saying sideways things about them. And we know that Quiet Flight and Bloomrise have been having some disagreements, arguments in patrols over Ibis Freckle, and Ibis Freckle recently was having really bad nightmares, so I think Quiet Flight blames Bloomrise for the confusion and the panic that's happening in her family. And then Fornest mutually hates, not Fornest, what am I saying? Bloomrise mutually hates Quiet Flight, and this probably comes from Bloomrise feeling as though Quiet Flight is acting as though she's the only one who's experienced loss when that is not the case. And her attitude is being a little bit insensitive to Bloomrise and the things that Bloomrise's family has had to go through. Like the circumstance of her father due to Ibis Freckle, but not only that, Bloomrise has lost an older sister in the past when they were fledglings. So I want to really quickly take a look at some family trees as well. Like I was saying, Bloomrise, if we go to her family tree, she actually had an older sister by the name of Wolfpaw, who was killed by a wolverine while out on a patrol, I think by herself. So that was very shocking for them all. And then we have Quiet Flight's son, who we are aware of, Pinespeck. He actually died, like he froze to death, I think in a storm while hunting. So that was very unfortunate. And then someone we haven't really talked about, but I wanted to mention because whenever I am speaking of Alpha and Sunnytail, to me it sounds like they were the only two cats in their litter, but that is not actually the case. Alpha and Sunnytail had a younger sister by the name of Fire Ivy. And Fire Ivy had, I think, the most tragic death. She actually sacrificed herself to save her mother Bluestar back before Bluestar was a leader. She was known as Blue Jay at that time. And Shivering Star was the reigning Grand Master, and he had very bad relations with the other hunting clans, so we were constantly in a state of warfare. And during one of those attacks, I think it was a surprise attack that happened, they were both trapped, and Fire Ivy felt as though she wanted her mother to get out of that alive, and without thinking, without giving Bluestar a chance to intervene, she sacrificed herself. And I think that caused a bit of a divide between Bluestar and her ex-mate Burnleaf, because I think Fire Ivy was Burnleaf's favorite child. So they have been through a lot of things, this particular clan of vampires, and the fact that these members are surviving to this day is a big deal. And I think part of why Bluestar was so focused on putting the rivalries that they were having with the hunters to rest and ensuring peace, that sacrifice of her daughter is why it was so important to her, because she did not want something like that to happen again, and she did not want her daughter's sacrifice to be in vain. But okay, let's see what everyone is doing for the day. Grandmaster Bluestar is finding the buzzing of the cicadas annoying. Master Quiet Flight is unsure of what the rest of the clan thinks of her as master. Owlfeather struggles to voice how she feels. Sunnytail solves problems by starting them. Ibis Freckle is spending time with Twilight Fade? Ibis Freckle? Please tell me you're not planning to push him somewhere else. Please, please. They literally had an argument, didn't they, when they went to the Medicine Cat Den to get both their permanent conditions treated. So I don't know what she's doing spending time with him, but I'm a little bit concerned. Full Nest is drinking water from a nearby stream. Bloomrise is finding the buzzing of the cicadas annoying. Okay, so she's actually hanging out with Bluestar. That's actually really cute, because I think when we were looking at events, we said that Bloomrise probably went to give Bluestar some extra food because Bluestar is sick with white cough in the medicine den. That is very kind and attentive of her. Eaglepaw is wondering if kitty pet life is really so bad. Burnleaf saw some kitty pets playing with colorful moss balls, and Twilight Fade purrs as a cool breeze hits him. Okay, so that is all we have for the cat list. Let's go ahead and move on to patrols. I cannot wait for our new fledgling to go on his first ever patrol. This is always exciting because we have absolutely no clue how it is going to go. Sometimes they end up having a really fun, relaxing, safe patrol that sets the tone for the rest of their apprenticeship, and sometimes it is really dramatic and really harrowing. So let's send out our Nightstalker Alpha the first. We have 50.3 prey and we only need 23.5, so food is obviously not an issue. Let's see Owlfeather. Oh, while searching for some specific herbs, Owlfeather is startled by weird sounds and whispers on the wind. You guys know how these vampires treat kittens and queens in the wild. They have this insatiable thirst for any of those non-vampiric queens and kittens, and they will kill them. They will drink from them, and those cats will end up in the dark forest. So I hope and pray that she did not just find some kids. Sure that it is a sign from StarClan telling them to feed. Owlfeather follows the faint wailing. Instead, she finds a queen who lost their life in a harsh kidding. Their newborn kits clinging to a body that will never move again. Owlfeather instantly wraps herself around the kits and starts thinking about what she'll need to do to move them to camp. Because that is where the vampires will feed on these kittens. That is very dark. Okay, so Shadow Whisper's ghost now wanders. I think she was the queen who died. And then we have, it looks like 3 kittens that are going to be fed on. Oh my goodness. This is terrible! Okay, who is the mother? The mother who ooh, that was a very pretty cat who died. So she was the one who very narrowly escaped basically having her soul corrupted by the vampires feeding on her. She's not going to go to the Dark Forest, but miserably enough, she's going to be separated from her kittens. Because these vampires, it's almost as though they can't control themselves, guys. They have this curse almost set upon them. They can't control themselves when they see non-vampiric kittens and queens. They will feed on them. So unfortunately, this kitten will be fed on. Oh no. Oh no. This kitten, whose name I will kind of change. This kitten will be fed on. Oh my goodness. Sent to the Dark Forest. And finally, this last kitten will be fed on. I'm so sorry. But the vampires can't control themselves. They're gonna eat all of the kittens. They're gonna drink from the kittens. But it has been a long, long time since these vampires have experienced a feeding like this, have experienced a feasting like this. And I think back in the first season, I spoke a little bit about this spiritual vampiric power that they have, and they only get that from these kills they do of other cats. So when they get prey, they are feeding their physical bodies, but when they drink the blood of these other cats, these specific kinds of cats, they are feeding their spiritual bodies and their spiritual powers. Yeah, it's quite dark. I wonder if Alpha's prestige almost would go up a little bit in the clan, because the Owl Princess, after eons and eons, actually found them a feast. And Eaglepaw has grown up in a time where he has gotten to feed from blood. That is wild. That is actually wild, because the last feeding was so long ago that I think we have had cats born and cats that have died in a time where they have never experienced being a vampire, and they've never experienced kind of feeding in that way. Ibis Freckle's personality has already been tipping off to a dangerous side. I wonder if this feeding is going to push her completely into that and twist her even more so. I don't know. That's kind of scary. But obviously for the vampires, it would be a very exciting sort of... it would be an exciting situation. Some of them, like Bloomrise, would still be compelled to feed, but a part of them would feel guilty. They would be guilty drinkers. They would be wondering about what happens to these cats in the afterlife, but not all the vampires would. Okay, let's calm down from that excitement and move on to the patrol of Eaglepaw, Bloomrise, Full Nest, Ibis Freckle, and Master Quietflight. I wonder if that drinking is going to influence the way this next patrol goes, but let's see what they get up to. The patrol wants to hold a training session for Eaglepaw. They decide to focus on how best to leap up a rocky cliff. Proceed. Eaglepaw tries to see the paw holds that Quietflight pointed out to him, but the cliff still seems unscalable in his eyes. Okay, that's kind of surprising given that Eaglepaw is a daring fledgling. But I suppose he is being a little bit more cautious, because I imagine his father would kind of be over his shoulder, acting a little childish and saying that that is way too dangerous for any cat to attempt. I kind of feel like that's what Full Nest would do. So he's maybe going to take a little bit more time to gather his courage, which is fine. But that is all we managed to do today. It ended up actually being quite dramatic, but not for the fledgling. Not for the fledgling who we thought it would be dramatic for. No, it was for the entire clan. The clan of blood-sucking vampires as a whole. But okay guys, with that said and done, I am going to leave off here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.